Hello and welcome to Better Workdays, a show dedicated to helping everyday professionals create better days at work. I'm your host, Andy Morrison from Real Custom Training, where we design and deliver professional development workshops that are relevant, engaging, actionable, and lasting. Each week on Better Workdays, we'll be taking a look at a specific concept, skill, or story that we use in our workshops. We'll make sure that they're easy to understand, fun to learn about, and most importantly, that they can be applied immediately in the workplace as soon as you finish the episode. Thank you for joining us. It's time for Better Workdays from Real Custom Training. Hey everybody, Andy Morrison welcoming you back to Better Workdays. One thing I noticed, I was watching some of our videos on YouTube, and we have an intro before the podcast, about 30 seconds, and then when the intro ends, you get me, and I basically say exactly what I just said in the intro. So I'm going to have to work on that for season 2. We're coming up on episode 30 of Better Workdays, and I have decided that episode 30 will be the season finale. Next week will be the season finale, season 1 of Better Workdays, 30 episodes. Wow. Remember when TV shows would have, I remember Lost some of the seasons, some of the early seasons had like 24 episodes, okay? Now House of the Dragons, you get 8 and you're clamoring for 10. They can't tell the story properly. It's a disaster. Better Workdays, we're not making the mistake of House of the Dragons, all right? We have 30 episode seasons at Better Workdays. We have learned where Benioff and Weiss and Zaslav and Cogden and Miguel Sapochnik have all failed. We will have an adequately lengthy season to say everything we want to say and tell you everything we want to tell you. I don't know why I decided to flex by showing that I know the names of a bunch of the creative people behind House of the Dragons and Game of Thrones. But I also committed this week. Let's pull the curtain back further. Not that anybody asked. So every week I record Better Workdays, right? And I don't like scripting it. I don't script it out. I create the PowerPoint, the visual content, and I have an idea of what I want to say and when. And my approach thus far, and we're about 7-8 months into this, my approach thus far has been, I'll start, and if I'm cooking, I keep going, and I'm recording, and if I mess up, I stop, and I start all the way over again. I know it doesn't make much sense. I know it's not efficient. That's just the way I've been doing it. And so there's some weeks where it's taken me a few hours to record a 20-minute episode because instead of just stopping, noting the time, picking back up, and then editing it later, I'd be able to record in a much shorter amount of time if I did that. But the problem is that I swear a lot. I like to swear when I make a mistake. And I'm so worried about a swear sneaking its way into the podcast that instead of editing it, I just start right over. But I can't keep doing that. It's just inefficient. It's taking up way too much time. So I also committed this week, this is going to be a one-take episode of Better Workdays. I've already hit record. Whatever technical snafus we have, if I swear, I swear. Whatever happens, happens. One take, we're going to get it done. All right. So again, behind the curtain, in the past, if I opened with a just rambling monologue like this, I would have stopped and started over. But you get the whole monologue because this is the one take episode, the penultimate episode, the Ned Snart gets his head cut off episode of Better Workdays. I didn't think of that until now. It's almost like I decided a few minutes ago arbitrarily that 30 would be the season finale and didn't really plan for the penultimate episode. So we'll make good in season 2. Someone will surprisingly get their head lopped off. I guess it would have to be me unless I start bringing in more guests. Maybe that'll be a priority for season 2. We'll see what Sean Bean's doing. Anyway, this week I want to talk about coaching. This summer, one of the clients I got to work with, one of my favorite clients, Weiss, Hale, Zahansky, Strategic Wealth Advisors out of Pomfret, Connecticut, all right? If you got wealth and you need strategic advising as to what to do with that wealth, these are the people to go talk to. The Weiss, Hale, Zahansky team, a bunch of leaders with a capital L, right? A bunch of people who really get it, who I've learned a ton from, and they've been tremendous to work with. And we did 3 sessions this summer with them. One of my co-instructors, Bob Tatro, and I worked with them. We've worked with them before. WHC is actually one of the very first Real Custom Training clients. In fact, they are our very first private group training client. LineMaster Switch was the very first company to purchase a seat in one of our workshops. Weiss Hale Zahansky Strategic Wealth Advisors was the very first company to bring us in and have us work with them on creating customized training exclusively for their leadership team. So I love the WHZ team. And this summer, when we did our 3 sessions, a lot of it was about coaching. And that was good. It was good for me to be working with them these past few years on developing curriculum around coaching, because there's a lot of confusion around coaching. And I want to clear some of that confusion up this week. And in clearing up the confusion around coaching, I want to give you such a clear idea of how to start coaching that you can start coaching today. Today, folks. All right, let's put this up on the screen. That's the episode title, How to Start Coaching Today. And today, if you're watching the stream, all caps, orange letters, I mean business. You can start today. I'm going to give you a super simple framework. 3 questions. That's all you need to remember. 3 questions that you can use to frame a conversation with an employee. And guess what? If you do that, you'll be coaching that employee. We're going to get you started today with coaching your employees. So the first thing to do is make sure we understand, what do we mean when we say coaching, okay? And in working with our clients on our coaching curriculum, that was one of the first things I had to figure out was, wait a second, like, what exactly is the difference between training and coaching? And you see a lot, I say this all the time, you see a lot on LinkedIn encouraging managers to be coaches, and that's not always the most appropriate thing. Sometimes you need to be more of a trainer, sometimes you need to be more of a coacher. So let's look at that. A coacher. There's a word for coachers, Andy. It's coach. So if you want to be a coach versus a trainer, let's look at the difference between the two, okay? Training. When you're training, you're using the directive leadership style. Go back to our prior episode. I believe it was episode 18. Go back. It's the situational leadership model episode of Better Workdays. The directive style is one of those situational leadership styles. And you're directive when you need to give someone the skills that they need to improve or just perform the bare essentials of their current role. That's when you're training someone, when they need skills and knowledge to improve performance or to even just be able to perform it all in their current role. Versus coaching. Coaching is conversational. And I want you to keep that in mind, because I don't, if you're like me and the thought of, oh, I got to coach someone, that can trigger some anxiety. It's like, oh, I got to be Bill Belichick. There's only one Belichick, and it's not this guy. But when you approach it thinking of it as a conversation, I don't know about you, I can relax quite a bit. You tell me to go have a conversation, I can have a conversation with anybody. So you're using conversation and feedback to help an employee address their growth areas. Right? A little bit, I get it. If you're still not totally clear, what's the difference? Isn't their current, performing in their current role, couldn't that be seen as a growth opportunity? Yes. So let's take a closer look at this question of who needs training versus who needs coaching. All right. Training, they need that directive style when they are low competence and low confidence. And again, I'm pulling from the situational leadership model. Go check that episode out. But who has low competence and low confidence? A brand new employee is going to have low competence and low confidence. They simply don't know how to do the job. And because they don't know how to do the job, they probably aren't feeling very confident about it. For example, let's say you hire someone, a new, you're running a coffee shop, you hire someone to make the drinks and run the cash register. They're brand new. They've never done it before. It wouldn't work if you tried to coach them into the position, into how to do the job. You need to train them. You need to give them the skills and knowledge they need to perform the basic, the necessities, the essentials of that job. They need training. All right. That same individual who you have trained on how to run the cash register, they've got the technical skill necessary. Let's say they're running that cash register, and one day they have a particularly belligerent customer come through. Or let's say they have a customer who's a regular, who super friendly older guy, and likes to talk their ear off. I'm thinking back to when I worked at Victoria Station in Putnam and I was a barista and working the counter. Sometimes it was, sometimes you had belligerent people. Sometimes you just had people who were too friendly, and they'd hold up the line. And you're like, if you're like me, you're not sure how to get out of that conversation. That's a situation where they would need coaching. So training's more of the technical skills, how to do the job. Coaching is more of the interpersonal skills, the type of leadership skills that we help people develop at Real Custom Training. If you want to think even further about who needs training versus who needs coaching, here's a handy slide for you. You'll see this in a lot of Better Workday episodes. You see this in a lot of our workshops. The Influencing Employee Behavior Scale. Basically, as a manager, right, you're trying to influence employee behavior. That's leadership. Leadership is influence. That's all you ever need to remember. Leadership is influence. Some things are easy to influence in an employee. Some things are difficult to influence. That's what this scale represents. So on the left side of our scale, the easy to influence things, okay? And speaking of trying new stuff on Better Workdays, I'm going to try something new with you. In addition to this being one take, let's try drawing. All right, let's try drawing. So under easy to influence, you've got job skills and knowledge, time and work management. And I'm going to section those off. Training. I'm labeling these training. All right, job skills and knowledge and time and work management. If an employee needs help in those areas, training is the way to do. You're going to be very directive. It's going to be, here's what we need you to do. Here's how you do it. Once they've done it, here's how you did on that, okay? Now, when we get into deeper knowledge, attitudes, and habits, this is the type of stuff that someone's going to need coaching for, okay? Especially attitudes and habits. Those are very difficult to influence. And personality traits, well, therapy. All right, let's categorize that as therapy. You're not there to help change anyone's personality traits. You can. People that work together certainly can influence each other's personality traits, but obviously it's at the very far end of this scale. It's the most difficult thing to influence in someone. So let's put that off the table for now. Let's worry about you're training them for job skills and knowledge and time and work management, and you're coaching them when they need to develop deeper knowledge, when they need to work on their attitude, when they need to work on their habit. So that person running the cash register, clearly, that's all here. That's all job skill stuff, okay? That person developing the emotional intelligence, the communication skills necessary to deal with belligerent or otherwise troublesome customers, that much more likely is going to require deeper knowledge, okay? That employee is going to need to know why does it matter? Why can't I just tell off this one customer? Why can't we do that? What's the deeper knowledge? What's the organizational impact if I were to start telling off customers every time they're rude to me? Okay? You got to coach them into understanding that. Attitude. What's their attitude towards if a customer is disrespectful to them? Do they have a really short trigger? Are they immediately upset and going back at that customer? And then habits, they need to develop the habit of properly dealing with a crappy, belligerent customer. It's a habit to get into, just like coaching is a habit to get into. That's why I want to give you 3 easy steps to start coaching today so you can start building the habit immediately. So you can see on this chart here, real quick too. It's a one-take episode. There, drew you a little flower too on there. Training for job skills, time management, coaching for deeper knowledge, influencing attitudes, and influencing habits. That's when you're going to need coaching. Your 3 questions, all right? Next time you're going to talk to an employee. So let's stick with our scenario that we had. Your employee learned to use the cash register, but they're struggling a little bit with how to deal with a belligerent customer. And last night, they had a belligerent customer come through, and you observed that the employee was, rude right back, basically fought fire with fire, okay? And you want to talk to the employee about that. You can use these 3 questions to frame that conversation as a coaching conversation. First, when you're talking to the employee about the incident, ask them, question number 1, what did you do well? All right? What did you do well? That employee might say, well, I wanted to call them something much worse than I did, but I didn't. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll take that victory. Good job exercising that amount of self-restraint. All right, easy. Question 1, what did you do well? Talk to them about what they did well, and then offer your observations about what they did well. Coaching question number 2, what could you have done differently? You ask the employee that, who knows what they're going to tell you? They might say, I read that you should take, a 4-second breath in and an 8-second breath out when you need to calm down. I could have tried that, I guess. Any number of things. And this is where it turns into the conversation. You can start talking to them about what they could have done differently. Maybe there is some feedback you can give them. Maybe you can tell them about a similar situation that you've been in, right? So this is where the conversation comes in. You get the conversation going by asking them what they could have done differently, getting them thinking about it. You're orienting them towards the future. They're already thinking, all right, what could I have done differently? Because that's going to influence what I do next time. And then question 3, what action will you take? This is the most important part, because it's easy for someone to talk about what they could have done differently, and by extension, it implies what they might do differently next time. But this gets them to commit to an action they're going to take. What action will you take? You know what, boss? Next time that customer comes in, I'm going to practice that breathing thing. And I'm going to see if it helps me calm down and treat them the way you need me to treat them. It could also mean, what action will you take? It could mean they say, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to go take a workshop for customer service reps on how to deal with troublesome employees. Obviously, an infinite number of responses that there could be, but the point is, it's simple. 3 questions. What did you do well? What could you have done differently? And what action will you take? All right, just use those as the framework. I'm not saying ask them verbatim. I'm not saying they're the only things you need to say in the conversation. It is a framework. Use those as the framework for your conversation with an employee, and you will be coaching that employee. You're going to help them develop different attitudes and different habits that you need them to develop to be successful for you and for the organization and for themselves. Because, if somebody dealing with belligerent customers, if they don't have the skills to deal with that in a productive way, that's not good for them either. So it's helping them out too to develop the skills. And by coaching them, you're getting them to take ownership, to do self-reflection. You're not solving it for them. You're helping address an issue with them. All right. With that directive style, when you're training, when you're telling someone what to do, you're not really inviting their feedback. You're saying, look, here's how you run the cash register. You push this button, then you push that button. Okay. Dealing with a belligerent customer, sure, there's room for you to say, here's what you could do. Here's what we advise you to do. But coaching, by asking these questions, making it a conversation, you're also inviting them to reflect on it so that you're not generating solutions for them. They're starting to generate solutions for themselves, and that is a key part of employee development. All right, I'll stop there. Your action steps. Simple, 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 simple this week. Use these 3 coaching questions to frame a conversation with an employee. Any conversation you're going to have with an employee about a project, about an incident, about, how the past year was. Just find a reason to initiate a conversation using these 3 questions. This is the framework. This is what your conversation's going to hang on. What'd you do well? What could you have done differently? What action will you take? Try it with your employees. Try it with your spouse. Try it with your kids. Try it with anybody you're talking to about any issue they're having. And rather than trying to solve their problems for them, you're going to find that they are solving them themselves. And that's a sign of a great coach. So these are 3 simple questions you can use to start coaching your employees today. All right. If you want more help developing skills like your coaching ability, check out our Level Up Leadership Program. This is starting September 10th here in Putnam, Connecticut. Level 1, core self-management skills, okay? We talked about how you deal with a belligerent customer. That's a self-management skill. That's emotional intelligence in action. That's one of the workshops we offer in Level 1, core self-management skills. An emotionally intelligent person is going to be able to handle a jerk customer when they get dealt a jerk customer at the counter. Level 2 in Level Up Leadership, supervisory essentials, okay? This ties in a lot to what we were talking about in this episode. Supervisory essentials, 6 workshops, 6 weeks, 18 hours, running here in Putnam, Connecticut. And lastly, Level 3, all right, stepping up into being a leader, learning to lead. We have a coaching skills workshop in this level. All right, we dabble, we touch on coaching and everything. But in Learning to Lead level 3, we have a deep dive into coaching skills, because a true sign of a leader is that they are developing other leaders. Coaching is going to be your number one tool in that endeavor. You're going to use coaching to develop your company's future leaders. And we cover that in Learning to Lead in Level Up Leadership. So again, this is our flagship program. It runs in Putnam. Tuesday mornings, Wednesday afternoons. Outside of that schedule, you can book it on demand. You can bring us into your organization to run it for you and customize it for you. Visit realcustomtraining.com to learn more, and reach out if you have any questions about Level Up Leadership. And in the meantime, use those 3 questions. Start a coaching conversation with your employees today. I will see you next week on Better Workdays. Thanks a lot.